I'm Dr. Jessica Eastman, and this is an open Q&A. And everyone who's present to please join us by turning on your videos. Okay, so this question says, recently I had chatted with someone that I'm starting to find interesting. However, at times when I chat with someone else, or if I slip or went to the gentleman's club, I feel as if I'm being unfaithful and cheating, although I'm not in a romantic relationship with her. And as far as she's aware, we are friends. I tend to become self-loathing and mope for no reason because I feel I'm ruining a relationship that's not even a thing. I think that this feeling comes from my first ever girlfriend cheating on me years and years ago on my birthday and me never wanting to do that to someone. How should I approach this scenario, and can former traumas evolve and worsen over time? Last question first. Can former traumas evolve and worsen over time? Absolutely, they can, and they do if we don't deal with them. And the challenging thing about trauma is that it generally tends to change the way in which we see the world or interact with the world, which often leads to cycles that result in repetition of similar traumas, not necessarily because it's your fault, but we often put ourselves into situations unconsciously to try and reenact experiences in our traumatic past in an effort to learn from it or facilitate a different outcome. And so the work here for sure is in doing the best that you can to get underneath and understand the original traumas. So in this case, like the moment of feeling like realizing you had been cheated on by your first girlfriend, like that's really an impactful moment. And even though it happened a long time ago, it can be really useful and important to be able to go back into that work and to really understand how that experience impacted you, to make space to give yourself permission to feel the sadness or the grief or the hurt, or to get angry, write her a letter, vocalizing and verbalizing the things that you wish you were able to have said to her in that moment, not necessarily to send it to her, just to get it out of your body. Because the reality is, I've said this before many times, feelings that don't get acknowledged and expressed by us remain stuck in our bodies and cause problems for us in the future. The only way to not be controlled by your emotions is to feel them. If you don't feel them, they don't leave your body, right? The only way to navigate emotions is to go through them. If you don't go through them, you don't get out. So in this situation, it definitely sounds like there's some past trauma fears coming up. And I think that the best thing you can do is to give yourself an opportunity, ideally like with a coach or a therapist, or maybe with an AP or in group, an opportunity to really talk about the original experience that really clearly impacted you, and give yourself some time and some compassion and some gentleness to work on healing from that traumatic experience. And an important flag that y'all can start to use and be on the lookout for to know if that's kind of what's happening here is anytime you identify that you are reacting disproportionately to the reality of a situation. So like in this question asker, he says, I'm not even in a relationship with this person. We're just friends, but I feel like I'm cheating on her. And then I get really down on myself and hard on myself for having ruined a relationship that I don't even have yet. That's definitely a classic red flag indicator of like, okay, the reaction that I'm having in this situation is not really representative of what's actually happening, which is a big flag that there's some trauma experience coming up there for you to understand, work through, and work on. I think it's possible also that some of this is like the potential of the relationship feels exciting to you, and the slipping can feel like it like you're probably like projecting into the future of like, if you do get into a relationship with her and then you do slip, will that ruin my relationship? And so there's an understandable like increased pressure on yourself when you have the potential for something new to develop, that you want to like be your most perfect version of yourself. We all have the desire to do this, to like, hide our flaws and pretend like we have no problems when we first are connecting with someone. And one of the most powerful things you can do is be as authentic and as honest about who you are upfront when you first meet somebody, without trauma dumping on them, without like saying like, hey, this is our second date, here's every single thing that's ever happened to me and all the things that I struggle with. but being honest with somebody as it feels relevant, like if you're friends with this person and you think there's maybe something more there, like let them in on the parts of your life that are challenging for you. Like when it feels right, share with them your journey with porn and or sexual addiction or whatever that is for you, so that if you do end up moving more towards the relationship side of the connection, you're not going to enter into that feeling worried that you have to be perfect in order for them to care about you or want to be in a relationship with you, right? And if a person doesn't want to be in a relationship with you after you share this information with them, that's their prerogative. And that might not feel good, but it's very useful for you to know. And it's better for you to know that in the beginning than like once you're already deep in it with them. And then you end up like like being honest with them 6 months in, and then it's going to hurt a lot more if they're like, yeah, okay, I don't want to do this with you,